Invincible Volume 2 takes everything that worked in the first book, the mystery, the violence, the tone, and somehow makes it that much more emotional. First impressions. When I picked up the book, I thought, wow, what a beautiful cover. I mean, we've got this big, bold white writing, this beautiful electric blue, and then you've got Omni-Man front and center, just looking very stoic. This was very telling to me as the reader after reading the first volume that this issue was going to be a lot about Omni-Man, but that made it feel really, really tense, and I really enjoyed that. This volume balanced humor, emotions, and tragedy very well, and it was really just awesome to read. Art and presentation. The art still looks fantastic even with the artist change. You're still the same writer and the same colorist, but they did change the artist for these 6 issues. The colors continue to pop and make everything really fun to look at. The panel layouts are clean and easy to follow during action scenes. There's actually this really funny scene in the book where Mark meets a comic book artist that explains how he reuses panels. In that conversation, they reuse panels and just show you. I just thought it was a fun fourth wall break. Paperback volume editions like the one I have here are comfortable to hold in the hand, easy to read, and the print is really nice. Story and characters. The story focuses on the fallout from the previous 6 issues with the Guardians of the Globe. What's really interesting about the story is the reader knows more than the characters in the book. We know that Omni-Man has done something horrific, but nobody else does, and we get to see Omni-Man be an Oscar-winning liar. Mark continues to grow up and make difficult decisions for himself. One of the most difficult decisions would be defiant of authority, and that authority being his father. Nearing the end of this book, Mark and his father have some pretty big disagreements. Mark and Eve's relationship also continues to develop, really just as friends, but it also feels like there's something else there, but it doesn't really come full swing because there's other love interests in this book. Humor makes the book feel more human and not dry. It makes all the characters feel really real and likable, and I really like that. There's also probably the best joke in this entire book is when they're recruiting people for the Guardians of the Globe. Robot is kind of leading the auditions and training, and he says, you know, thank you for everyone for coming out. This has been great. There's a lot of you with similar powers that didn't make it. We chose people with more experience. And then he goes, and there are some of you that completely wasted my time, and you know who you are. And just the way it was delivered in the book was really funny, and it made Robot, who is a very dry character, have this really dry sense of humor, which is really nice. The balance between the comedy and the darker moments in this volume work really well. The darkest moment in this volume is the conflict between Mark and his father, Omni-Man. It was very dramatic, and it was really cool to look at from an artist's perspective. Things I didn't like: the relationship dynamic between Mark and Eve is just being friends, but there's something else there, and then they're starting to introduce other characters that they're romantically involved with. I thought was kind of odd. You're rooting for Mark and Eve this whole time, ever since Eve's falling out with Rexplode. You think they're going to get there, and then they don't, and now we have these, or I guess just one character that's newly introduced, which is Amber, a character that Mark is seeing during this issue. Not a big problem, it was just odd that you're almost there, and then it completely changed direction. Some side characters didn't get enough time to fully develop in this issue. Being a fan of the show, or at least the earlier parts of the show, I know that they're going to play a bigger role. But I also know the comic book is a little bit different, so I could be wrong in saying that. But there's some people who I wish had more time on pages. I was going to say on screen, but had more time on the pages, right? Like Darkwing and his assistant, right? Like that whole thing blew up in this issue and it became this big fight. I don't really know them or care about them. And the Guardians of the Globe, I didn't really know them too well from the previous volume or care about them. I just found it funny that they were a spoof of the Justice League. Maybe that's all they needed to be, and you can kind of fill in the blanks from there, but I just kind of felt like I was missing something that was supposed to be tugging at me emotionally. With all that being said, I found it hard to find issues with this. It was very well written, very well drawn, and the colors were awesome. The pacing was good, and it was just overall a joy to read. Final verdict. This was a huge improvement over the first issue emotionally. It felt different than a lot of other superhero comics. It focused primarily on betrayal and family conflict, which is not something you always see, family conflict, like all together. I mean, in every superhero book, in every novel, everything like that, you're going to have family conflicts, you're going to have conflicts with your friends, but the entire family dynamic knows about what's going on. Usually the conflict is nobody knows that there's a hero, nobody knows that their friend is a superhero, and you know they're trying to keep this secret. But in this case, everybody knows, and that's what creates the conflict. They all have a different mission, right? Like Debbie's mission is to take care of both Omni-Man and Mark. Omni-Man's mission is to just wipe out the planet, and Mark's mission, which we find out, is to stop him from doing that. So they're all in the loop of what's going on now, but the conflict is them not agreeing with each other. This is great for readers who are tired of a repetitive superhero story, and I would strongly recommend this to anyone who's read Volume 1 and maybe didn't like it so much. This will most definitely change your mind. This is easily the kind of story that has you going, just one more issue, and then you're hooked, right? Like, I got up today, and I wasn't in a reading mood. I read the first 5 pages, and then I finished the whole thing. It's just one of those books, and I'm hoping that Volume 3 holds up just the same. Let me know what you think. Do you like Invincible? Have you read the comics? Are you a fan of the comics? Are you a fan of the show? Just let me know what you think in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching. Take care.